Hi everyone, this is Chris Petri. Thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it that you come by every week and we get together and we do some drawing and some watercolor painting and we have fun, and we just try to keep a focus on simple concepts when we're doing our drawing and painting and watercolor. Nothing too fancy. We try to keep our focus on the fundamentals of things. This way we kind of can build on those fundamentals, and then eventually we can move on to more detailed techniques and so forth. But I always like to just key in on the fundamentals of things a lot of times, because I know that's really I do it myself always as an artist, as a watercolor artist. I'm always trying to make sure I kind of approach things more from like a fundamental ideas first, and then I can get into more of the details as I go. So when I create a painting, it's kind of the same thing. I start off with the fundamentals of what am I going to paint, seascape, landscape, cityscape, so on and so forth. And then I might get into the design of the painting. What kind of design is it going to be? A lot of darks in the painting, a lot of lights in the painting, design considerations, all these things we'll learn as we go. And I'll try to touch on the fundamentals of things as we draw and paint here, and just have fun with it. Let's have fun. Watercolor is a medium where we don't learn everything at one time. It's just a gradual process where we learn bits and pieces of information as we go, and then after a while we just have gained a lot of information, and we use that and put that towards our paintings. That's all it really is just taking the knowledge we gain by learning, and then we go from there, and then our paintings become better, and our drawings as well. So here I figured I would just take a quick on this painting. We'll focus in on maybe just for two things. Let's say we're going to focus in on alla Prima, and two, let's focus in on light and dark. Dark and light, light and dark. So we'll look at this painting we're going to do, and we'll kind of take a look at these two fundamental things that happen when we're going to create this painting, and then from there we can just go through it and have fun and enjoy. I forgot to mention too, if you're new here, you're just coming by, please hit the subscribe button. Consider doing that. It's really a great thing. Every week when we get together and I create a new video, you'll get an alert on your phone or your electronic device, and it'll let you know that we made a new video for the week. And every week we make a new video, so you'll get that notification. And then here we're going to start out. We've been kind of working on this technique a little bit of maybe finding a painting or a photograph and sort of getting a mat and moving it around and trying to find really nice compositions and paintings and drawings from sections of paintings or drawings or photographs, whatever we have that we're going to use for our reference. So here I'm using an art book that I have. It's an art teaching book in watercolor. And then I just did this, and I considered a lot of different things to do, but I really came up with this here for my final. So something like this. So the lights and darks here are really interesting. We have some bright lights in here. The sky is pretty bright, and these highlights. We have a fair amount of darks, and we have some decent amounts of middle tones too. So this just overall to me looks exciting. It looks interesting. It's a beautiful seascape. There's some beautiful boat here, and some houses along the bay or the ocean here, the waterfront, and there's some maybe sailboats over here and other boats, and it's kind of got a nice mysterious look to it. It's warm over here, and then there's some warm and cool everywhere in the painting. It looks really good. And then there's some nice cooler colors and tonal values over here on the right side, so that you get that nice feeling of distance. Here you feel you're closer up to the scene with the boat and the house, and then as things trail off into the distance, this has nice dimensionality to it. So we have the more cooler colors over here, where this other seaside house is, or boathouse, whatever that might be. It's mysterious. We kind of have some fun with this. All right, so now once I found that spot that I think looks the best, that I'd like to work on, I just tape it with a really good high quality artist tape, drafting tape, so that we don't pull off any of the beautiful work that this artist has in their teaching book here. And I'll set this up across from me. Okay, and then we'll get situated here. We'll zoom in on the painting. Okay. And we'll zoom out a little bit, and we'll get started here. So I just want to set up my camera overhead. Okay, perfect. Maybe we'll zoom out just a little more here. Okay, another thing really I like to do a lot, let's tape off an area with our masking tape. Using really good masking tape. We'll tape off a rectangle. So we have a rectangle, we tape that off. And this is great, taping things off with drafting or masking tape when we do a composition like this, a painting. And what it does is it really like almost frames it out for us, so that if once we're done with it and we peel the tape off, we can just set this up, along our desk or wherever we work, or in our studio, or we can, put it up with some tape somewhere, tape it up, and we can look at it and, look at it and say, what do I like about the way the painting came out? What can I do better next time? It's great to take our paintings and just sort of, when we work on them, then we can critique them and look at them and say, what could I do better next time on this painting, and what came out really good, instead of, if it comes out really not so great, just, getting frustrated. And, I did that when I first started painting. If the painting didn't come out good, I didn't think there was anything to learn from it, but actually there's a lot to learn from our paintings. So I still have a lot to learn, and I always take my paintings, I put them up on the walls here in the studio, and this way I can look at them and say, what can we do? What can I do better next time? What was really working good on this one or that one? And I'm going to pour some fresh water here in a water bucket. So some fresh clean water I start out with, and then we'll do a pencil drawing first. So again, we focused on two things. I started a little journal book here, and I said this one painting will be a la Prima, and light and dark. We're going to focus in on the light and dark here. So we want to make sure we capture the light and dark of the painting we're working from. So I'll start out, and again I'm going to work in more of a rapid fashion, thinking that this is not a painting I'm going to maybe frame or put into a show or something like that. This is just a painting I'm working on to try to get some ideas from and do some sketching and practice my drawing skills. And so we'll have some fun with this, and I'm going to contour draw this here. So I hope the pencil, you can see the pencil lines here. And I'm gonna try to do this pencil drawing a la Prima as well. I'm gonna check my angles as I paint. And again, with contour drawing, I'm taking a trip through the drawing. I'm not so much thinking I have to do everything at one time as far as drawing goes. Here I'm thinking I can capture some interesting things as I go. Okay, I'm going to take a break for just a second. So here I'm drawing through the painting, contour drawing, and I'm trying to focus in on the shapes that I'm seeing in the painting that we're practicing from. So I'm not so much thinking in my mind, well, let's do the boat now, and then I start doing the boat as I see it. I'm kind of thinking, let me just follow what I'm seeing on the painting across from me, and then just trying to follow that that shape and the angles and the flow of things. So it's maybe not always going to come out just perfect, and I might notice that when I'm done with this painting, maybe my boat was not correctly drawn or something. But I guess the main thing I always key in on is trying to keep that flow going within the painting and the drawing, the contour drawing, keeping of just trying to do the best I can at following the lines, the angles of the lines, the proportions, as far as trying to kind of scale things as I go and look at the scale of things. So if I start out and I see that the house is the shore house here, I see that it makes up a good deal of this side of the paper, almost half the paper. So when I start out, I think of that. Okay, this house here is going to be about almost a quarter of the, like if we division this, about a quarter of the paper is this house, and then the boat makes up like the other lower quarter of the paper here, and then the other side of the paper is sort of this house over here, and then the next house over here in the distance. So, and then sometimes if something is, what's cool about the tape is you can always lift off the tape too. So if I want to make this rectangle a little bit bigger, if I want to, I can just do that, and then I can And I'm just kind of checking lines and then here I'd like to make sure I kind of capture that Okay, this is bright sunlight here in this section, and I made this a little larger than what the painting is that I'm looking across, that we're using for reference. But that's not a big deal. Again, we try to get the basic idea of things, but it doesn't have to be perfect, especially when we're practicing contour drawing. Here we can just let this, if you have to do a couple little touch-ups with an eraser, no big deal, but we'll try to leave it pretty much the way we did it here, and this looks pretty good. Alright, so we have our basic idea here. Maybe we'll get our window in over here. And then there's maybe a sailboat back here. So we'll capture that sailboat sailing back over this way. Okay, that's the contour drawing. We can also do our indications of some sails over here and some rigging, so we'll just remember to and I think that'll be fine. Alright, now I'd like to probably do two parts on this because we've spent a lot of time doing the drawing and sort of getting geared up for painting this and getting our two fundamental ideas of painting this a la Prima and making sure we capture the really nice light and dark of the painting. And again, we look at our painting that we're going to work from. And it's kind of hard sometimes to get but that's what we're working from right there. We have it framed out. Okay, so we're going to come back and we're going to paint on part two. I'll take a break, get my paints ready, and then we'll do the painting portion next. So I hope everyone takes a nice break, relax, and then we'll come back and we'll do the painting portion of this beautiful seascape painting. Okay, we'll see you in just a few. Bye-bye. Alright, so we're actually we're doing this all in one video. I'm so used to doing the parts on videos. Many times, I guess when I first started with YouTube, I actually had to break down all my videos into parts because you're only allowed 15 minutes per video, I think, when you first start out making videos. So if any of you are thinking about maybe making videos in the future with your artwork and things like that, if you're going to take on that fun challenge, in the beginning, I think for maybe the first 6 months or so, you can only make 15-minute videos, and then you can up your video. YouTube gives you an allowance of 15 minutes per video, and then you can also, once you're at a certain amount of, I think, subscribers or views, then you're able to create longer videos. So I guess after a number of years being on YouTube, I'm able to create longer videos. So this is all one video, I guess, and we're going to continue here, and let's get started with our painting portion. Again, we kind of focused in the beginning. I started a notebook here, and we were going to focus in on a la Prima. So we're going to paint this. Sometimes we use the glazing technique, which everyone's pretty familiar with. Painting the lighter tones first across the whole paper, and then going in and doing the darks over that once the paper has dried for the most part. So here we're going to use the a la Prima method, which is just starting in one section of the painting and sort of working through the whole painting. Most times starting out with the darker tonal values first versus the lighter. So it's sort of the opposite as the glazing technique. that many people are familiar with. And then we also wanted to talk about lights and darks. This is a really powerful, beautiful seascape painting, and the darks and lights really make it exciting. So in this painting there's a variety of darks and lights which make it really exciting. So we'll see that as we paint. And of course that's, we want to definitely focus in on capturing those darks and lights in the painting. So we don't want to get too, we want to make sure we focus in on getting those really rich darks, as well as keeping a close watch on doing some nice middle tones, tonal values, and then as well as capturing some of those really bright lights, like leaving most, some areas with some bright white paper. Okay, so let's get back into it here. And I'm going to use a round Kolinsky sable brush. And this is a number 6 Raphael brush. And I will use my apron or some tissue or a paper towel to just check some water off the brush sometimes if the water has too much water on it after I've rinsed off the brush. Since we're doing darks, you'll find you might use this method a little bit when you're doing the darker darks on a painting. Keeping a tissue or a paper towel or a sponge next to your water container and taking off a little bit of the water so that there's not too much water on the brush. And then we go in and we'll get our darks, and we'll use lots of paint. So here I'm looking at the picture and I'm noticing there's a lot of burnt umber. So we'll put some burnt umber in our palette. Straight tube paint. Some burnt sienna I see there. Similar to burnt umber, just a little more warmer color, a little more red in there. And I see some yellow ochre too. And some darker dark parts of the building, the house that I see, the shore house right next in the left side here. I see it's got some really rich darks. So that is French ultramarine blue into the brown mixture. Okay, we'll go in and we'll start to put in the darks, and I'm sort of working around things. I'm not necessarily starting in one spot and just completely finishing that section. I'm trying to, that's what's fun about alla prima. You can work around and you don't have to do everything in one go, as we would say. And then here I'm going to work in some of the lighter browns and burnt sienna. I have some piano music playing. Sometimes that's helpful to put some music on and kind of go with the melody or the tempo. And I'm constantly looking back and forth at the painting that I'm working from out of the workbook to get the colors and the tonal values, the dark and lights of the, and I'm having fun with this. I'm just knowing that I have to keep mixing those same colors. Yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. I'm sticking with those colors, and I can also take some cerulean blue down here just to maybe mix in a little bit of more variety than what I see in the painting across from me. You're the artist. You can add things too into your painting and go beyond what you're seeing. If you're copying from something, or in nature, you can embellish what you see instead of just going with what might seem to be the obvious right there in front of our eyesight. And okay, I'm going to splash a little bit just to loosen up a little bit here. And okay, I'm going to continue working in this. I'm going to work from left to right across the painting. There's bright light on that roof. A little bit of cadmium red. Okay, and then this chimney is quite dark. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. And some French ultramarine blue with that cerulean blue. Then I just lighten it up. Okay. And I'll use those same repeating colors in the boat here. And then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to keep mixing those same colors. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. A little darker, I go with more French ultramarine blue. And then here and then I introduce a little bit of the cadmium red. Then I can tone that down a little bit here and there, just so a little bit of sap green. Now here I'm starting to use a little more colors. I just go by instinct or by feel. I always try to encourage everyone, if you're going to add new colors into a painting as you're going, try to just remember to double back and then just maybe put a little bit in here and there. So it's almost like we're backtracking just to add a little bit of that green here and there, because we just started to add some here. So that's a good thing to remember. And again, we're going back, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and we're going to continue to get those darks. And then a little cerulean blue in there for the ceiling. If you see that it's going to dry lighter than that. It looks a little dark right now, but that probably will be okay. Cadmium lemon yellow. Back into our original mixtures. Burnt sienna, yellow ochre, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and we're going to continue with that, and we're just going to get a lighter version of that. So we put more water into the palette. I'm going to work into the piling here. There's a piling, and what's nice about this is we work that right into the side of this shore house here, or this fishing shack here, and we'll go over that with darker tones in a little while, but it looks good to tie that in together a little bit. And same colors we're going to use over here for the windows. And again, we keep one well sort of like dedicated to the main colors that we're using in the picture. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and then we have the piling here. Sap green, some of the dark, sometimes making some indications of round brush strokes here and there, just to make it look a little more rounded in shape. Now we're going a little cooler here into the distance. We'll continue to work in some of these middle tones, and again, this is getting further away in the picture, so we just always remember cooler in the distance and warmer colors in the and darker colors in the foreground, and whatever's closest to us. So this way we have some and here I'm just mixing different mixtures from my palette. You can see okay, we're going to leave some bright whites of the paper in here. I can see the and then more dark we need for some of these pilings. A little bit of green, sap green I'll put down here, just so we don't get too okay. I'm going to go a little quicker here now, just so we're getting the idea of making sure we get our darks in the foreground. And there's some more darks over here. Again, we said we were going to key in on making sure we get lots of rich darks in here, which we have. And then we're also keeping bright whites of the paper, so we're going to definitely leave bright whites of the paper, and then also middle tones. We have those here, middle tones here, darks here, dark. So you can see it's a mixture of darks and lights really, and then also some white paper. So the white paper looks really beautiful. If we can leave some of that there, and then we just have some a little more splashing there. And then here, cerulean blue. Maybe we'll use some cobalt blue, which is a lighter version of French ultramarine. And we'll go right up into the sky with that. And then a little bit of yellow ochre, just to put some warmth in the sky. And then we're trying to maintain those middle values, cerulean blue. We can also add in some burnt umber to gray down the cerulean blue a little bit. Warm and cool everywhere, but let's keep this mostly blue over here. cerulean blue. With a little bit of the burnt umber and yellow ochre. Alright, this is looking good. At this point we would let this dry. Let's see if we can use the blow dryer. Okay, so we dried off the painting quite a bit with the blow dryer pretty quickly, and then we can go in and again go back to our basic mixtures: French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, yellow ochre. That's our staple here that we're going to use for the whole painting, and then we'll try to get in a couple windows. There's a little bit of a so here I'll just do some final details. Spots of color. So I'll just go around the painting and see if I can add a few little spots of color here and there, just to a couple areas, just to make it some feelings of sand, speckles. And then over here, cerulean blue I'll mix into just to get a few of the darks I can see over here in the painting. Okay, the final details here, I'm going to use again the same colors. I'm repeating, just repeating the same colors. Okay, I think we can do a couple final details, maybe some we'll do some rigging lines, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, cerulean blue. Darker here for the ones closest to us. in the foreground here. So there's some rigging on the boat here. So we'll do a couple of those. I did notice a little bit of some cerulean blue maybe for the and that makes it a little more interesting. Okay, let's peel off our tape and see how it looks like framed, as if we were framing it in a frame. And it looks really good. We remembered a la Prima, painting the whole painting at one time, and also lights and darks. So we captured those lights and darks that we needed to, and it really looks good. And we can maybe lift this up and okay, everyone happy painting, enjoy the process. And it's just a matter